which is why we're opposed to the draft. You know, there's two sides to every story, right? Now, Nixon looked at these people and said, these guys are enemies of the state. In fact, the FBI, the CIA was very much involved in monitoring a lot of these folks because, well, they're troublemakers, you see. Now, the youth culture was also made up of something called the counterculture, which was basically a group of people that don't want to live according to what mainstream America wants to live by. These are essentially folks that your textbook will call hippies. Primarily, you know, we use the word alternative lifestyles today. But this was back in the day where you had literally alternative lifestyles. You know, where is it written in stone, a person who would identify with this would say, where is it written in stone that you have to work from 9 to 5 every single day? Why should we have to do that? Can't we just live, man? Can't we just live? Can't we just get along and just make love all afternoon? After we're done with that, do the same thing tomorrow, smoke some drugs at night? Can't we just do that? Right? And listen to Jimi Hendrix on the way as we trip up into nirvana and become like one with the great blue void. Yeah, pass me another brownie, man. You know, like that. I'm sorry. That was taken from a variety of different movies. I'm sorry about that. Was that me? No. I'm as square as they come. I am not that way. I enjoy studying about it. But if you've ever been up to San Francisco, kind of the center of the counterculture movement was this, Haight-Ashbury, 2 streets that meet in San Francisco. Has anyone ever been there? It's awesome, right? Today it's like really cool. There's a lot of cool like places to eat and stuff like that. But back in the day, they actually used to have tour buses that people would like. People go to San Francisco all the time to go see the sights, right? But they had a special. You could go see the hippies, you know, almost like it's a zoo, like it's Jurassic Park or something. You know? They'd take you down, you know, you got your suit on, you got your wife Ethel, you know, you guys are from Iowa, you know, you're chilling out, looking. Ooh, look at those hippies, Ethel. Oh, they're disgusting. Oh my God, I can't believe we paid for this. No, they actually used to do that. It's really funny. And of course, rock and roll played into the whole counterculture, the drugs, the peace, the love, the alternative lifestyle. It's all interrelated. And so again, you know, the idea of 2 Americas is so prevalent. Probably typified most of that. I think that's why the documentary used the film Easy Rider, if you ever watch the whole movie. I mean, that's basically the whole thing, what it's about. It's about exploring the divide that our culture had come to at that point. Do we still have a generational gap today? Yeah, I would say so. It kind of depends on the family and the person and everything like that. And so also at that same time, you have other minority groups that are challenging the status quo, challenging the government. For a long time being bottled up. Let's talk a little bit about the American Indian Movement, or AIM. Seeing what African Americans did in the Civil Rights Movement, they see the late 60s, early 70s as their time to, I think, reassert what their wishes are, because our history toward Native Americans has not been a good and just one, right? And so the American Indian Movement has started, which is basically sort of like an organization that has a lot of demands that they want the government to meet. You know, they want the government to meet their treaty obligations, to restore Native American autonomy on their lands instead of letting reservations wither and die and become mired in economic distress. One of the things they do to get attention, which really got a lot of headlines, is they went to a site of a battle that, if you remember our American history, like from week 1 or 2, I forget. But back in that time, in Wounded Knee, South Dakota, right here, where my pointer is, that's the site of a battle in which the United States basically massacred hundreds of Native Americans, all in the name of wiping them out, creating what we call progress. And so what you see here is the American Indian movement going into that town and occupying it and demanding that the government return Wounded Knee to them, or not only that, but just return the government's return the territory to Native Americans. They also do the same thing at Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay. They actually get some boats out there and they occupy it. This grabs a lot of attention. President Nixon does do some things to further the legal interpretation of what tribes should have on their reservations, and what things tribes should have. And so, like, it does work a little bit. Nowadays, of course, this is our relationship with Native Americans has evolved to Indian gaming, right? As you guys know, lots of states have that. Of course, California being one of them. But this is one example. Another example is Latinos are going to mobilize as well. And because Lyndon Johnson passed an Immigration Act, which we talked about last week, you have a lot of people that are immigrating to the United States coming, that are Latinos. And basically, that's going to cause an upsurge in the amount of activism there's going to be, okay? For example, the Mexican American Youth Organization, or MAYO for short, is a group that basically pushed for the rights of Chicanos. Does anybody know what a Chicano is? It has nothing to do with Mexican. Born in America, right? With Mexican heritage. Yeah. So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so this all starts really in the 60s. You have a lot of things going on. Like, I could give a lot of examples. I'll give one of them to you. In 1968, a lot of people don't know about this, but in 1968 in the city of Los Angeles, 5 high schools in East LA decided to actually have all of the students walk out of the campuses for 3 straight days in March of 1968. Why? Because they were being treated unfairly by their teachers. Basically have a whole staff and faculty of white teachers, white police force. There's all kinds of things that were going on in the high schools that were unjust. For example, the kids couldn't go to the bathroom during lunchtime, which is like, well, where do you go? You go in the bushes. You go to the sewers. For speaking Spanish in class, they would be whacked in front of the class with a large wooden paddle twice on their bottom. Okay, that's when teachers could do that kind of stuff. For me, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that, but that's what they did. Also, really, there was no cultural relevance to the curriculum that was taught. So these kids, with the help of other activists, organized themselves. They walked out of the schools for 3 straight days, and the LA School Board met their demands. It's a great story. It's called the East LA Walkouts of 1968. Meanwhile, besides that, you have guys like Cesar Chavez that are doing a lot of great things to try to push for the rights of farm workers economically. Cesar Chavez being a guy born in Arizona who is a Chicano, American of Mexican descent, a very soft-spoken individual, but somebody that made it his mission to get better condition for Mexican Americans in the fields, organizing a 300 plus mile march from the city of Delano all the way up to Sacramento in the early 1960s, and being instrumental in getting a collective bargaining law passed, which basically gives farm workers the right to collectively bargain with their employers so that you can have better pay and better working conditions. You can thank Cesar Chavez for all the things that farm workers have gotten. I'm not going to say it's a great job. Maybe some of you have relatives and friends that work out in the fields and stuff. I don't know. I used to work in a packing shed in Reedley, and I can tell you the guys that came in from working out in the fields all day picking peaches, I got mad respect for. Those guys work their butts off, and I can tell you, I don't think they get paid even near enough for what they do. Can you imagine working out in the field in the hot San Joaquin Valley sun in the middle of July picking plums where you have absolutely no bathrooms around? There's no water, that's portable, so maybe there might be one water jug with like one cup that everybody shares in the crew, maybe 70 or 80 people sharing one cup of water. That's really disgusting when you think about it. And getting paid nearly absolutely nothing. That's the situation farm workers had. But you see, what Chavez did is he was able to organize these folks and get the attention of very famous United States politicians such as Robert F. Kennedy. This is, of course, before he was killed in 1968, to draw attention to the plight of the farm workers. Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union organized a huge boycott of grapes nationally. They sent people out to like almost every city in the United States to literally try to prevent people peacefully from buying California-made grapes, and they brought the grape companies down. The grape companies were losing so much money from the lack of sales that they decided to then meet with Cesar Chavez and work out a deal. So if you don't believe that something is possible in terms of like, can David always beat Goliath, right? Can we all destroy the Death Star? Yes, we can. Si se puede, right? I mean, that's what they said. No, I'm serious. You can have the most powerless people, and as long as you get organized, you can change things. I mean, look at Cesar Chavez, look at Gandhi, look at Martin Luther King, look at the history of the world. I mean, revolutions can happen if you're not careful. I'm just kidding. Also, other things happening, other minorities, the gay community. Okay? The lesbian and gay community starts to rise up a little bit. In 1969, you have a very famous incident called the Stonewall Riot. This is the backstory behind this, is that all throughout the country, yes, gay people did exist back then. So did lesbian people. It's nothing new. It's always been there.
Thank you.
Well, it's true. People like to think, this is a new thing. Well, back in the 50s, people weren't gay. Yeah, a lot of people were. Yeah. So, but back in the day, in the early 60s, and even before that, there were very few places, if you were gay or lesbian, there were very few places where you could go to be gay or lesbian, if you know what I mean. Like, there was no safe places to go. It's not like the laws were in your favor. Even San Francisco, which we think of today as like, okay, this place is like the mecca of homosexuality. Some people would say, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah here. Morality is destroyed. Oh my God. There are people that think that. Even in that city, it was illegal and a public crime to, love each other in public, like hold hands, or you know what I'm saying. And so what people had to do is they had to do things